Have you ever noticed how being a good person can quietly become a trap? You offer your time, your forgiveness, your attention again and again, and somehow you end up tired, sidelined, and strangely invisible. You assume goodness by safety. You assume kindness guarantees reciprocity. But what if the opposite is true? What if goodness offered without strategy invites disrespect? Machiavelli wasn't praising cruelty when he wrote that people are ungrateful and fickle. He was warning you about what happens when goodness forgets to protect itself. Picture this. You always say yes. You're flexible, forgiving, reachable at any hour. Then a crisis hits, and the very people you helped vanish. Your messages go unanswered. Your patience becomes their expectation. Your sacrifice becomes their baseline. Why? Because predictably good is also predictably exploitable. What is abundant becomes cheap. What asks nothing receives nothing. This is not cynicism. It's a sober reading of human behavior. Machiavelli understood that most people calibrate their actions to incentives, not to your intentions. If your incentive structure says, I will keep giving even when you stop caring, you've built a machine that prints neglect. Goodness without power becomes a costume, admired, applauded, and quietly ignored. And here's the harder truth. Much of what we call goodness is not compassion. It's conflict avoidance wearing a halo. You say yes to be liked. You apologize to be accepted. You forgive to dodge the storm. It looks holy, but deep down you're bargaining for security. If your goodness is a deal, you will pay for it forever, because the price always rises once people learn they can take more. Machiavelli would tell you, stop paying the tax of naive virtue. Notice the pattern. When you rescue people from the consequences of their choices, you train them to need rescuing. When you answer every message instantly, you train them that your time is theirs. When you accept disrespect in the name of understanding, you train them to disrespect you precisely because you understand. People aren't monsters for doing this. They're human. They respond to the map you draw. If your map says, take whatever you want, I will refill, they will travel that road daily and call it normal. So how do you remain good without becoming prey? Machiavelli's answer is uncomfortable. Goodness must be paired with teeth. Not violence, consequences. Not bitterness, clarity. If you want your kindness to matter, it must be rare enough to notice, valuable enough to miss, and guarded enough to respect. That means your yes is chosen, not automatic. Your forgiveness is earned, not dispensed like candy. Your time is priced, not poured. The moment you become strategically scarce, people discover your presence has weight and your absence has meaning. You don't have to. Strategic warmth is different from endless warmth. One heals, the other dissolves you. That isn't kindness. That's negligence. True goodness is discerning. It measures the person, the problem, the dose, the timing. It knows that compassion without diagnosis can do harm. The adult version of goodness is calibrated, able to say no without guilt and yes without resentment. This is why leaders who try to be loved fail. Machiavelli observed that it is safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because fear is noble, but because love is unreliable when it isn't paired with respect. Translate that to your life. If people like you yet do not respect your boundaries, their affection is a breeze through an open window, pleasant, changing, and gone by morning. Respect is the lock. In personal relationships, fear is not terror. It's the quiet awareness that your no actually means no, that your standards are real, and that proximity is earned. Ask yourself, where do you pay the tax of goodness? Is it in the apology you keep delivering to someone who never apologizes back? Is it in the weekend you surrender every week because they just need you? Is it in the conversation where you explain your heart for the 17th time to someone who listens only when it benefits them? There's a name for this: leakage. Your goodness leaks into ground that never grows anything, while the people who value you receive whatever crumbs are left. Machiavelli is brutal here, but useful here. People are covetous. They want more of your attention, your labor, your patience. If you don't define the price, they will. They will price you at zero. This doesn't make them evil. It makes them human, and it makes you responsible for your own economics. Price your yes, price your access, price your rescue. You'll be astonished how quickly difficult people either rise to meet you or drift toward cheaper markets. Here's the pivot. You don't have to announce any of this. You simply change the map. Delay your replies. Decline without essays. Enforce your first no. Don't rescue adults from lessons they insist on failing. Quietly, consistently. Watch how the room rearranges itself. The takers will protest. The balanced will adapt. The worthy will lean closer. Why? Because goodness protected by spine becomes a signal of quality. It tells the world, I am kind and I am not free. There's another cost of unguarded goodness. You lose your mystery. When you are constantly available, you become legible and predictable. People stop wondering how to treat you. They already know. They press the same buttons and get the same result. That predictability is comfortable for them and exhausting for you. Withdraw some access, and suddenly the pattern breaks. Curiosity returns. Standards appear. Your presence commands attention because your absence has taught its lesson. You may worry this is manipulative. It isn't manipulation to stop bleeding. Boundaries are the moral geometry that allows goodness to survive contact with real people. They are the rules that protect your capacity to keep caring tomorrow. To love well, you must last. To last, you must ration. The saint without boundaries burns out into bitterness and calls it enlightenment. The adult with boundaries becomes steady and calls it peace. Look at the people you admire most. They are not endlessly available. They are generous on purpose. They are warm, but they are not easy. You lean in because you sense there is a center. So I want to look you in the eyes and ask a hard question. How much of your goodness is a mask for fear? Fear of being disliked, alone, or called selfish? The cost of that fear is your peace, your time, your future. The dividend of courage is a smaller circle and a larger life. You will lose opportunists, and you will gain momentum. And you will discover that goodness mixed with strength is not harsh, it is gravitational. It pulls the right people in and keeps the wrong people out without a single argument. If this makes sense to you, if you feel the quiet sting of recognition, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. In the next part, we'll go deeper into Machiavelli's most dangerous idea: why appearing good can be more powerful than being good, and how to use that without losing your soul. Machiavelli understood something most good people never study. The world runs on appearances first, incentives second, and intentions last. You can be sincere to the bone and still lose because others only see the surface and respond to the math. That is why he separates being good from seeming good. Seeming good is a signal to calm the crowd. Being good without strength is a signal to predators. Your task is not to become cruel. Your task is to stop being edible. Think about reputation as armor. A ruler keeps order not by pleading, but by projecting reliability and consequence. In life, reliability and consequence means this: people believe you keep your word, and they also believe you will enforce your limits. If either belief fails, your goodness becomes a coupon, redeemable everywhere, respected nowhere. Machiavelli would advise you to build a name for measured generosity paired with swift boundaries. The fox and the lion. You know this pair. The fox is cunning enough to read the game. The lion is strong enough to end it. Become both. Fox,
You study patterns, motives, leverage. Lion, you make one decisive move instead of 10 anxious speeches. Most of us try only the fox, endless analysis with no teeth, or only the lion, blunt force that burns bridges. Strategic goodness is fox and lion goodness, warm in public, steel in private, and never confused about when to switch. Here's a sentence to engrave. Results are kinder than reassurances. You can promise you'll change, or you can quietly change and let people redraw their map of you. You can explain your boundary for 20 minutes, or you can end the conversation the first time it's crossed. In politics, speeches are signals. Decrees change reality. In relationships, apologies are signals. Behavior changes reality. You don't need harsher words.
You need fewer repeats. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must learn not to be good when goodness would ruin the state. Translate that. You must sometimes step outside your comfort script to protect what you are responsible for. If saying no makes you shake, say it anyway. If delaying your reply makes you anxious, wait anyway. If ending a one-sided friendship makes you look cold, end it anyway. You are not breaking goodness, you are protecting its source, your energy, your time, your capacity to love the right people well. Let's talk optics. Appearance creates space for action. Being perceived as calm and fair buys patience from observers. Being perceived as firm buys caution from opportunists. Blend them. Lead with courtesy, follow with clarity. People remember how you finish. This is why random kindness makes smaller waves than calibrated kindness. When everyone has equal access to you, no one feels lucky to have you. When access tightens, the same kindness becomes luminous. Scarcity is not a trick, it is communication. That truth turns ordinary favors into trust-building moments. The same 5 minutes of help feels different when it is clear you chose it. Now the tension. How do you keep your hands clean while playing on a muddy field? Machiavelli's answer is prudence. Prudence means you act for the long term, not for the applause of the hour. Never lie needlessly, never threaten idly, never promise what you won't enforce. Keep your word more often than others expect, but also avoid promises that mortgage your freedom. Promise less, deliver exactly, and you will look better than the loudest saint. Consider fortuna, the chaos of luck. Machiavelli says fortune favors the bold, but boldness must be prepared. In practice, build savings so you can walk away, skills so you can pivot, allies so you're not alone, and a routine that stabilizes you when storms arrive. Then your goodness can survive downturns because it is resourced. Kindness without resources becomes guilt with a smile. Resource yourself and your yes acquires weight. Let's get practical. The next time someone pushes your limit, do not draft a novel. Use a rule of 3. First time, restate the boundary. Second time, reduce access. Third time, remove access. No rage, no drama, no long trial. If still pressed, exit. You will feel rude the first few times. Then you will feel free. The rude feeling was withdrawal from an old drug, being liked at any price. What about mercy? Machiavelli is not against it. He argues for mercy that increases order, not mercy that multiplies harm. Forgiveness is powerful when it resets a relationship to a healthier baseline. Forgiveness is naive when it resets the abuser to the exact same place. Mercy should include memory. Remember the pattern, adjust the access, and you'll stay both human and safe. There's also the question of allies. Goodness becomes stronger when it travels in company. Build a small circle that shares your standards. Mutual aid, honest feedback, no gossip, no martyr contests. Protect this circle. Inside, be lavishly kind. Outside, be selectively kind. The contrast keeps the inside bright. It also teaches you that you are not alone, which makes holding the line much easier. Finally, the inner peace, the part where you become unbribable. Feed those hungers yourself. Approve of your choices before the world votes.
belong to a purpose larger than praise. Then the old hooks pass through you like wind. You are not hard, you are clear. In the next part, we will enter the sharpest room in Machiavelli's house, incentives. You'll learn how to set terms that reward cooperation, penalize exploitation, and make your kindness compound instead of evaporate. And you'll see why the enforcement of small rules builds a life that feels mysteriously lucky from the outside, but is actually designed. Machiavelli's most underused tool is incentives. People move toward rewards and away from costs. Everything else is poetry. If goodness keeps costing you while costing them nothing, it will be harvested and never reciprocated. So you design a garden where cooperation grows because it is watered and exploitation withers because it is dry. Not by speeches, by structures. Begin with terms. Most disappointment is a contract you never wrote. Write it. State terms early when stakes are low, not later when resentment is loud. Calm voice, no legalese, and never threaten outcomes you won't keep. Incentives only work when consequences are real. Use tiers of access.
Imagine your time and trust as concentric circles. The outer ring is casual kindness. Quick favors, friendly tone, no deep commitment. The middle ring is invested support. You plan, you show up, you spend energy. The inner ring is core loyalty. You stake your name on someone. Movement inward is earned, slow, and reversible. Movement outward is swift and wordless. People learn quickly. Reliability moves them closer. Unreality moves them back. Price attention. Attention is the currency manipulators spend first. Set windows when you answer and windows when you are unreachable. Two things will happen. The inconsiderate will escalate, then fade. The considerate will adapt and respect you more. By reducing impulsive access, you also reduce impulsive conflict. Distance cools fires faster than apologies. Prefer rules over moods. If you negotiate every request based on how guilty you feel, the outcome is chaos. Policies remove the theater. You aren't rejecting them, you're keeping the system clean. Reward cooperation in public, not just privately. People replay what gets noticed. When someone exploits you, do the opposite. You move a ring outward and say less. Starvation, not speeches, ends bad habits. You are teaching with your feet. Guard the commons. Any shared space, a group chat, a family calendar, or a project, must have norms. The softer you want the culture, the stronger the guardrails must be. Write the 2 or 3 rules that prevent decay. Pen them and enforce them gently every time. Don't wait for a big offense. Correct small phrase while the fabric is strong. Use deposits and buffers. Machiavelli would tell you to keep reserves because fortune turns. Emotional reserves. Sleep, movement, quiet hours. Social reserves. 2 or 3 allies you can call at midnight. The more buffered you are, the kinder you can be because you aren't bargaining from fear. Track patterns, not excuses. Excuses are infinite. Patterns are few. Create a simple ledger. Who shows up when it's boring, who disappears when it's costly, who evolves after feedback. Promote patterns, demote patterns. This is not judgmental, it's mathematical. Over a long horizon, this math is love for your future self. Learn the power of scarcity combined with certainty. Scarcity without certainty feels like a game. Certainty without scarcity feels common. You want both. I can do Friday at 3. That sentence communicates value without arrogance. You are clear, limited, and relaxed. It is enough. Replace rescue with rehearsal. When someone chronically fumbles, don't leap. Walk them through the steps once, then ask them to repeat it back. The second time, ask which step they'll do first. The third time, step away. You are moving their problem back to its rightful owner. Most dependency ends not with a confrontation, but with a rehearsal they must perform alone. Beware free labor as identity. Some people build a self-image on the helpful one, then attract a circle that never pays. If generosity is your brand, charge in clarity elsewhere.
Charge yourself an hour a day for your craft, your study, your business. Put invoices in the world, literal or metaphorical, so your talent compounds for you, not only for others. Design exits in advance. Every healthy structure includes a clean way to stop. Decide beforehand what ends your participation. 3 missed deadlines, 1 broken confidence, any contempt. When the line is crossed, you simply reference the policy and step away. No storm, no lecture, just the click of a lock you set long ago. Now the uncomfortable part. Sometimes you must let a relationship deflate so the system can breathe. When you stop subsidizing chaos, the person may blame you for the vacuum their choices created. Leave it. Nature abhors a vacuum. Growth or replacement will fill it. Your job is not to be the air pump for other people's leaky boats. Incentives also apply to you. Give yourself rewards for boundary keeping. Quiet mornings, a walk, a book, guilt-free rest. Pair hard choices with pleasant recovery. You are training your nervous system to feel safe while being firm. Over time, firmness will feel like home, not like danger. If this is clicking for you, if you can name one place where a small rule would save you from a big storm, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Let's land this with 2 systems you can start. First, the 24-3 rule. Wait 24 hours before committing to anything that costs more than 3 hours of your time. Most flattery wilts overnight. Second, the red pen.
Write the 3 behaviors you will no longer subsidize: lateness, gossip, endless edits, and keep that list visible. When one appears, act once. No relitigating. Incentives are a language. Fluency arrives through repetition. In the final part, we'll face the spiritual bill. What you lose when you stop being the good one, and what you gain, a quieter life that draws better people, better work, and better luck because it finally treats goodness as something worthy of strategy. There is always a spiritual bill, and it arrives when the party is quietest. You stop being the good one, and the room goes cold. The invitation's thin. The people who used to text you first text someone else. You're called difficult, distant, calculating. You feel a strange loneliness because your old identity, indiscriminate kindness, was also a crowd magnet. But that magnet pulled metal shavings, not companions. This is the cost Machiavelli forces you to count. When you exchange people-pleasing for principled power, you lose noise and gain signal. You forfeit a chorus and receive a choir. The silence between the notes begins to matter. Let's speak plainly. You will be misunderstood. Your newly enforced boundaries will be framed as arrogance by those who depended on your permeability. Your slower replies will be pathologized by those who thrived on your instant availability. Your refusal to rescue will be labeled cruelty by those who lived on your subsidies. This is the first taste of freedom, swallowing names that do not belong to you without trying to spit them back. Machiavelli never promised comfort. He promised clarity. Virtue, the capacity to shape events, requires a stomaching of weather. You cannot steer rivers if every splash offends you. And yet, something gentler rises underneath. When you stop scattering goodness like confetti, your acts of care grow heavy again. You say yes and mean it. You keep a promise and feel the spine of it. You give mercy and not a gram of self-contempt follows. That's how you'll know you're changing. Your kindness stops tasting like sacrifice and starts tasting like choice. This is the circle Machiavelli's critics miss. He is not the patron saint of cruelty. He is the anatomist of consequence. When goodness is paired with consequence, it survives. There is a second bill, reputation reform. Those IOUs live in other people's heads, and you cannot recall them with an announcement. You must default on them behaviorally, again and again, until the market reprices you. At first, you'll look like a broken machine. Then you'll look like a different model. Eventually, you'll look like a person whose time means something. Reputation is not a press release. It's a weather pattern.
Keep sailing in one direction and the wind learns your name. You will also meet a quieter enemy, shame. Not the loud guilt of doing wrong, but the subtle static of doing different. You will hear your old scripts. Don't be selfish, just help. It's not that hard. And feel your hand hover over the reply button you promised you'd ignore. Breathe. Count to 100. Let the heat pass through you without acting. You are not becoming less good, you are becoming less edible. And every time you endure that pocket of shame without betraying yourself, your nervous system learns a new home. Soon the silence after your no will feel like peace, not danger. Machiavelli would tell you to build institutions around your change. Create supports that keep you from backsliding when emotion spikes. Replace open channels with office hours. Replace maybe with default no's. Replace let me think with written policies for your yes. Replace the heroic rescue with repeatable systems, shared calendars, clear deadlines, enforced limits. The softer you are at heart, the stronger your rails must be in practice, not to cage you, but to carry you. Then your generosity rides steel and reaches farther without wobbling. Here is a truth you will be tempted to deny. Some relationships only lived because you were infinitely flexible. When you become finite, they end. That is not a tragedy. It is an audit. It returns time to the accounts that earn interest. The friend who reciprocates, the partner who respects, the craft that compounds, the body that thanks you, the mind that grows sharp again. What you lose by closing low-yield loops, you gain in deep wells. Your days stop feeling like leaks and start feeling like a reservoir.
Let's talk about grace in the Machiavellian frame, because if you do this without grace, you will become hard in the way that breaks. Grace means you assume ordinary imperfection in others and in yourself. You correct the pattern without punishing the person. You leave room for return. Machiavelli advises firmness. He does not forbid mercy. Mercy that strengthens order is wisdom. Mercy that invites chaos is sentimentality, expensive and addictive. Practice the former like a craft, starve the latter like a vice. Then there is fortuna, luck, which, despite preparation, will overturn your plans. You will be blamed for what you didn't do, and you will be praised for outcomes you barely touched. Accept both as weather. Your sanity depends on owning your actions and releasing your image. Goodness that is enslaved to optics becomes theater. You aren't building a show, you're building a life. A life with a spine can hold more love than a life with a spotlight. A paradox arrives here, soft as a secret. When you stop trying to be good for everyone, you become better for the right ones. Your presence gains a flavor of inevitability. People who are building real things prefer you, your boundaries, your brevity, your decisive kindness, because you don't drain rooms, you stabilize them. You become someone whose yes moves projects and whose no saves months. That is the hidden dividend of strategic goodness, compounding trust. The world notices it like a scent and walks toward it. If you want a ritual to anchor this shift, use absence with intent. Watch what vanishes without your constant oxygen. Not to punish, to measure. If something cannot live without you, it was never viable. If something improves without you, it was never yours. If something misses you in a way that invites collaboration, step back in carefully and rewrite the terms. You are not a faucet, you are a well with a gate. You will also need a way to bless your former self. The version of you that gave too much wasn't stupid. It was trying to buy safety with the currency it understood. Thank it, then retire it. Build a private ceremony, a letter to the helpful one, gratitude for its service, a new oath for your energy. Whether or not anyone else witnesses this moment, your nervous system will. It craves markers. Give it one. What about the fear that you will swing too far and become cynical? Not nice. Not endlessly accommodating. Good, meaning ordered toward long-term flourishing for you and for those you choose. A gardener pulls weeds not because he hates plants, but because he loves fruit. Your no is an act of horticulture. Now, let me ask you directly, whose approval is the price tag on your peace? Name them. Write the names on paper. That is not contempt, it is emancipation. Your worth is not a public auction. The moment you stop bidding for it, a fierce quiet takes its place. From that quiet, you can love without bargaining, help without depletion, and walk away without a courtroom in your head. There will come a morning, a very ordinary one, when you make coffee, check the calendar you designed, and feel a dull ache where your old chaos used to be. You will mistake it for sadness. It is space. It is unassigned life. And if you resist the urge to refill it with noise, something extraordinary happens. Your attention grows roots. You read longer. You build the thing you postponed. You reply to the two people who always show up. You go for a walk without inventing emergencies. The air feels different because it finally belongs to you. And here is the final Machiavellian lesson, stripped to the bone. Goodness is power that chooses mercy. Without power, mercy is a performance. With power, mercy is a gift. Be the kind of person whose restraint is felt, whose standards are known, whose favors are memorable because they are not inevitable. Be the fox who sees, the lion who decides, the gardener who prunes, the builder who lays rules before walls. That is not the death of goodness, that is its coronation. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to be called cold for a season so that your goodness can finally become durable? Are you ready to let a few stories about you curdle so that your life can become truer? If this message touched you, if it made sense, write in the comments, I choose strategic goodness. Let's see how many here are ready for this transition. And don't forget, keep watching the next video. It's important, much more than you imagine. See you there.